when the world is fucking on fire.
You just want to lay down and give up.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Specifically, the laying down, giving up part. I really think that I could talk about that.
I'm Maddie,
And I'm Abigail, and this is
two writers.
Many Wrongs. Two writers, many ways to find joy. Maddie and I are both feeling kind of down. That's the understatement of the year, really. Maddie and I are both really angry and upset and tired at the state of the world, and especially living in America and everything that's happening here. And we are really desperate to find a way to spark joy, especially when it comes to our writing, because when the world is on fire, we are both in survival mode, and it's really hard to create when you're in survival mode. So, we are going to try and find some joy today so that we can fill up our creative well and hopefully keep writing.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting too because that's what you described is definitely how I felt like the last year. But I feel like
Hmm.
this last month I've found some joy and have been able to create. So I think that'll be interesting
Hmm.
to see like it does work. Like it's hard, but you can find it and find a way to.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely hard. I think that the whole thing about the new year, it's always kind of tricky because there's that feeling of loss of, what I didn't get to accomplish last year, but there's also that feeling of new beginnings.
Mhm.
I really do feel like I was in survival mode for all of January, but we're in February now, and I think I'm ready to try to find ways to spark joy. And it's just so difficult because there's that fine line between staying informed about what's happening in the world and doom scrolling and falling into the pit of despair and letting it consume your life. So I really would love to know how have you coped this last month? How have you found joy?
Um, I think like it's one of those things where like you just have to shut things off for a little bit. Just give yourself permission to
Hmm.
walk away from whatever is going on in the world because
Hmm.
there's only so much you can do. And sitting
Yeah.
there laying on the couch feeling bad about it doesn't help anybody. Like nobody's like, "Oh, thank God this person is sitting here feeling bad about what's going on." They're really the champion here. And so
Hmm.
finding my work is a it does kind of talk about like my book, one of the big themes of my book is
Hmm.
the dangers of nationalism. Um,
Yeah.
and so like I'm like, I mean, it's still like a novel. It's not super important,
Mhm.
but maybe in a way it is important, and maybe it does help me feel a little bit empowered to talk about and explore.
I think it's so funny that you already are downplaying your own work because you talk about like, oh, it's fiction, like it's just not really that important. But one of the things that we continue to see on the front lines of these protests and in, the ways of resistance is reading fiction. We continue to see these books, not just, The Handmaid's Tale is always a go-to for things like that, but specifically, like Pierce Brown's series Red Rising. I continue to see coming up. And that's a sci-fi, kind of operatic sci-fi
Yeah.
series. So I do really think that the creation of art and fiction is incredibly important. And especially, not just the violence that's taking place in our country, but also the takeover of AI and the destruction of creativity in art. So, I know what we're doing is important. It's just hard to get motivated
Yeah,
to make it
because
sometimes.
art is a form of protest. It definitely is.
Hmm.
And so it is important. And I think the problem that probably you and I have is it feels like we're screaming to avoid because our books aren't out there. Our books aren't
Hmm.
published and it's like
Yes.
we're like, well, I'm doing all this, but who am I protesting to? And maybe it's
Right.
all for nothing and I could be spending my time doing something else.
Hmm.
But like maybe
Yeah.
maybe it just maybe this is how you do it and maybe it's just going to be a matter
Hmm.
of time for you to get up there. It doesn't mean give up on it because you're not seeing something at this exact moment.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's something to be said for like radical hope. I've had conversations with a lot of my friends who are pretty positive they don't want to have children, which is such a valid choice, and I completely agree and understand with that. for each individual person. Um, but we've had some pretty frank conversations where they'll say like, how are you bringing another kid into this world? And it might be naive. I don't know, but I do think it's an act of radical hope
Mm,
to continue moving forward. Not just with like procreation, like bringing a child into the world, but I think it's the same thing with our art of continuing to have the hope that our books are going to get out there and are going to get published, continuing to create, even if we don't know if it's ever going to be shared or not, I do think is an act of radical hope.
yeah. And I had a moment of radical hope yesterday, actually, where
Yeah.
I queried my novel for the very first time.
Oh my God, bitch. How did you bury that lead? That is bringing me fucking joy. Tell me, tell me if this, what the fuck? Tell
So,
me.
so January, I got up and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. At the end of this month, I'm querying
Mhm.
my fucking novel. I'm just doing it. I'm just gonna do it. And so I've been working really hard all last month in secret because I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't want to be like, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
do this and then not do
Yep.
it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
it was really, really, really hard not to say anything,
Yeah.
especially like in our like first couple episodes where we were talking about like, what's your plans for this
Oh
year? And I'm
my
like, I don't
God.
know, maybe because
I cannot believe you've been fucking lying to me. My trust is
I
deteriorating.
haven't been lying. I've been hiding
Uh,
something though, but
a way of omission.
live
So
omission.
how did you find the agent that you wanted to query to? I mean, that's really, really exciting. That's a huge step that you took.
I know, and it was very scary. And
Hmm.
I could not have done it without Josh forcibly pushing my finger to submit it.
I love that. We love a supportive husband or partner.
But he was very he let me. He like was like he had his
Yeah.
hand up mine and he's like, you can do it. You can do it. And then like kind of like just I was the
Yeah.
one who pressed it, but like he just kind of just like
Absolutely.
firmly was like, see, you did
That's so nice. That is
it.
so exciting. Well, I was just telling you before we started recording, just the struggles that I've been having I really haven't queried since November of last year. So it's been 2 months of taking time off.
Yeah.
But I really want to get back to it. And again, I think that that is a way of finding joy. Even when I get the rejection letters, it is just that spark of joy of like, you know what? I tried.
Hmm.
I put myself out there and I tried. So that's really, really exciting. That brings me joy that you did that. Do you think you're going to continue to query it, or did you just want the goal of like, I put it out there, I did it, and
Well, I want to try and do batches of five.
yeah,
And
that's what I do.
I had five to query.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do it
Hmm.
by the 31st, but I didn't quite
Hmm.
finish until the Sunday, which is February 1st, which is arbitrary
Hmm.
anyway. So um
Still amazing.
I was like, I did one and it was a lot emotionally.
It is a lot.
And
Yes.
so
Writing the query letter is so fucking exhausting.
so I was like, this is it. I'm just gonna do one today, and then for the rest of this
Mhm.
week, I'd like to query the other four, and just move on.
That's amazing. I love that for you. That just makes me so happy. I hope you query Michaela because they were looking for some sci-fi when we interviewed them. So we'll see. Who
I
knows?
mean, I was looking at Michaela's wish list, and there wasn't anything that was quite like a fit
Okay, okay.
for what I
Yeah,
had.
it may
So
have rotated. Um, well, that's really exciting. That's awesome. I'm so, so happy for you. That's a great way to find joy.
I think the hardest part was I think well, it was hardest part, but it really helped me connect to my novel was writing the synopsis.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so hard.
Oh my God, it's so hard. I just so I
Hmm.
started with just I wrote out every like major plot point. Like
Yep.
and then I
Hmm.
just kind of like condensed it after that and like tried to make it sound
Hmm.
nice and like
Yeah. Choosing the singular character to write the synopsis through is also really difficult for me since I have so many different points of views. And they always say in the query letter, you can mention it's multi-POV, but focus on one character. And it's like, oh my God, that's so fucking hard.
yeah. Um
Hmm. Yeah. Nice. Well, I'm trying to think of things that have brought me joy. And there are things that have brought me joy in my life. I just don't know. I guess I need to try and find a way to channel them into my creative energy. But one thing that's brought me joy is Michael has started reading. So last year he finished, I want to say like 12 books, which is a huge deal for him. And then he has been on Book Talk, and he got turned on to the author Frida McFadden.
Okay.
And they're mystery. And it's
Oh,
literally only February 2nd, and he's read, I think, 4 books so far this year.
that's amazing. That's really amazing.
And is just ripping through her catalog. And like that's been really cool. And it inspired me to reach out to her for the podcast. And she so far is the only agent who's written back and said, like, we so appreciate you reaching out, blah, blah, blah. It's so nice. But like her writing schedule is just really busy, reach back out towards the end of the year.
Hmm.
But I really do think I think that just making the effort brings me joy. Like as I'm talking through this, like reaching out to the 6 authors that I reached out to about the podcast, it does bring me a certain amount of joy of like, I am doing this, I am moving forward.
Hmm.
And I know once I start back on the edits for my second novel, I will feel joy. It's just getting to that point. Like I feel like I really suffer from inertia,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I totally get
Like
that.
getting started is hard.
Getting started is hard, but there's the joy in once you do get started, there's the joy in having done
Mhm.
something. I think that was something that was really
Yeah.
key. And I was doing Pomodoros, so at like 25-minute
Mhm.
sprints where I just set a timer and I open a chapter and I'd say just work on it. And then
Nice.
it didn't matter if I did like a sentence or if I did, you know, 600
Mhm.
words. It didn't matter. It just worked during this time frame. And then that felt like that brought me joy because it's like I accomplished something. I because the timer would go off and I'd be like, I can't believe it was 25 minutes already. And I had done
Yeah.
something, even if it wasn't a lot. Um, and I just tried to
Hmm.
like count how many times I sat down for 25 minutes and focused rather than word count or page count or how many chapters I was doing. Tried to focus on that.
Yeah. I love that idea. That's really nice. And I think that that's the other thing that I've been struggling with. Like we talked about, there's so many other things going on that it's hard to like prioritize the writing sometimes. So like the school semester just started back and I'm teaching 2 classes this semester. And one of them is a class that I've never taught before. So
Mm,
I spent basically all of winter break creating this class and the syllabus and everything about it. And it's just been really hard trying to like balance having 2 classes and a brand new class. I don't really know what I'm doing and like grading already. I mean, we're only 3 weeks in the semester and I've already had tons of grading and like their first essays have been due and like trying to store up enough energy to get that done and then still have energy at the end of it to write. But I like that idea of the Pomodoro. Even if I just do it once a day and just do a 25-minute sprint, I know that I would feel better about it. And 25 minutes isn't that long,
it's not.
you know? It's really not.
That's what I would do. Like I would
Um,
be like, just do 25 minutes. That's it. 25 minutes, you try it. If it doesn't work, you move on to something else. And that
mhm.
usually wasn't the case. Usually, since I had time to do more Pomodoros, I usually ended up doing more Pomodoros. It's just the starting that was the hard part.
It's so hard. It's so fucking hard. And there's always some excuse of like, oh, well, I really need to like clean this, or I really need to do that, or I really need to. And it's just like, it's just excuses. And it's really, really hard to like get around that fact of I'm just making excuses.
I mean, we were talking earlier about jokingly like doing a podcast of how to
Hmm.
procrastinate.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we lose joy is
Hmm.
we make room for things that we think are important,
Hmm.
rather than doing
Yeah.
the things that are important because, we are artists and that's part of who we are and that's part of how we express ourselves, especially in these dark times. And that does bring us joy. And so trying to run away from
Hmm.
that is doing the exact opposite.
Yeah. I think it's also, I definitely suffer from like using the people in my life as excuses, which is bullshit because I have such a strong support system. And so like Michael has just been sick for like a week. and just
No,
having, a hard time getting over it and stuff. And I've been using that as an excuse to be like, oh, well, like I have to do the dishes and I have to do this and I have to play with Maggie and I have to whatever. When the reality is he's fine. I mean, he is sick, but like he is very capable and happy to do all of that. Like one of Michael's big things is breaking the stereotype of like the man cold, so like he's eager, yeah, he's blowing his nose every 5 minutes, but like he wants to be helpful around the house, and I haven't been letting him and using that as an excuse. Like I know that I could come into my office and close the door and just write
for 25
for
minutes.
for for 25 minutes. I know. I know. It's hard. It's so hard to like let that go, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
I think the key to
yeah.
sparking joy is you know the things in your life that bring you joy,
Yeah.
and you need to stop avoiding them. Like, because
Yeah. Why am I running away from joy? Why am I doing this?
because you feel guilty. You feel like you don't deserve joy
Yeah.
because of all the things that are going
Yeah.
on in the world. You feel like I don't deserve to feel
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah. No, that's really true. It is hard to, because you feel like you're ignoring what's happening in the world when you're trying to find joy, and you're not. Like you have to find joy in order to survive what's happening in the world.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's how
I
you keep
mean,
hope alive.
yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting. I was talking to Michael about this the other day because there are anti-ICE protests happening throughout Orlando. And I said to Michael, I was like, when it was the Women's March back in 2016, my mom brought my niece to the Women's March. And she was probably, I don't know, like 5 at the time. I mean, she was young.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any fear of bringing a child to a protest. There was only the I am sharing this great civic duty with a young person,
Yeah.
you know? And now watching things that are happening, watching the videos of children being pepper sprayed, I'm like, I'm fucking scared to take Maggie into all of that.
Yeah.
And then it makes me feel like I'm making so many excuses of uh of being inactive, that I feel guilty if I were to take time for myself to find joy, because I feel like I'm not the work to earn joy, which I know isn't true. But definitely like talking through this with you, I think that's what I've been doing is I don't feel like I've earned the right to have that joy. I haven't been doing enough hard work for it.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of things to keep in mind is like everybody has a different role to play.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
maybe you see people doing a role and you feel guilty that you're not doing that role, but maybe that's not your role to play at this time. Maybe it was in the
Yeah.
past, but maybe right now that's just not something that's doable. You have to think of your family
Hmm.
too. And there's other ways
Yeah.
that you can help in that. And also, you have to keep joy alive in order to be able to be useful in that situation,
Hmm.
to be able to participate. Like if you just feel bad and you're laying doom scrolling, again, that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
But if you go and you
Hmm.
refresh your cup and you find the joy, you find the strength to continue fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, talking with you, realizing that like, your book talks about the dangers of nationalism. My book is talking about the dangers of like cult mentality, and lack of education. Yeah, I mean, they are important topics that if hopefully someday we're successful in getting them out there, they might be impactful. And so just remembering that like that is a form of resistance to have joy and to have radical hope and to find those moments. Is helpful to remember because sometimes it just feels so selfish.
Yeah, no, it does. But it's hard to
Yeah.
remember that it's not that
Right. Yeah.
selfish. So is
Yeah.
so is doom scrolling. Doom scrolling is very selfish.
Dude, doom scrolling is so bad. And then I feel almost worse when like because I have a problem with TikTok. I know that you have basically gotten off TikTok for the most part,
Yeah.
and you're doing much better with it. But like, I still very much have a scrolling problem on TikTok. But I will get into like these situations where it's not doom scrolling, it's like hope core, and it's just like puppies and little kids and whatever else. And then I feel guilty because I'm like, I am just using this as like a fucking shield against what's happening. Like there's no winning. There really is no like feeling good about what you're doing all the time. you know? So finding those moments of joy is really important. Um, this past week, Michael and I went to Disney with
Mhm.
Maggie, and we took Michael's sister and her daughter, who's 6 months older than Maggie, and they had never been to Disney. Well, his sister had been, but not for years.
Yeah.
And we did 4 parks in 4 days, and it was
Oh,
exhausting, but it brought me so much joy to see these two young girls like run through the parks and get to experience stuff for the first time. And they met princesses, and they met Mickey and Minnie, and like remembering that joy of imagination
mhm.
was really uh, exciting. And I think that definitely filled me with joy, like outside of the creative world.
Yeah, and I think that's important because stuff like that, it reminds you what you're fighting for.
No, absolutely. Um, because I think that's the other thing is that I feel like if I'm finding joy, I have to be using it in some way. And like that's just as detrimental because it goes back into the cycle of like everything has to be earned and reminding myself that like it's okay to just go on vacation with your family and bring joy and remember that, your kid is 2 and she doesn't know what's going on in the world and she shouldn't have to know what's going on in the world.
Yeah. I'm thinking about
Yeah.
as a gamer. I'm thinking
Hmm.
about there's so many video games that I can think of in which like the world's about to end, everything's going to
Hmm.
everything's exploding, but your character's like they have a party with all their
Yeah.
friends because it's like it's the end of the world and they need to like take those moments to just enjoy life a little bit. And like you think of that and
Hmm.
you're like, well, that makes sense. Like, yeah, they deserve this. They've been
Right.
working so hard. But like for us, it's not. We don't
Yeah.
deserve that. But like,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
but they're literally like the world is literally falling
Hmm.
apart. They need to go stop
Yeah.
whatever this is. But they take a night to have a little party,
Hmm.
to,
Hmm.
fall in love and do all that kind of stuff. And, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's so interesting. Joy is so much harder to hold on to than despair or worry or fear or any of the rest of it, you know? Um, I really have to work to find joy and hope, and don't ever have to work to find anxiety. And that I think makes it that much, I don't know, maybe more rewarding when you do find joy. It makes me think about the Inside Out movies. Did you ever see those, the Pixar movies?
no.
Okay, they're strangely deep for children's movies. But she has all of the different emotions inside her head. And Joy is the one who's supposed to be in charge. And then in Inside Out 2, as the main character is hitting puberty, she gets all these new emotions and she gets anxiety and ennui and, all these other
We.
things, jealousy. Yeah, she gets ennui as a teenager. And she gets jealousy and all kinds of stuff. And anxiety starts to take over. And joy is kind of pushed to the side. And just like remembering, you really kind of have to work sometimes to let joy take over because it's so easy to let the other emotions just take control and like drive the bus.
Yeah, that's a fight in itself.
It really, really is. And like both of us are in therapy, like we're fighting the good fight, but Jesus Christ, it is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
there's only so much one person can take on, and I think
Hmm.
you need to learn how to pick your battles.
Yeah. It also makes me think, though, I mean, like we talked about, finding joy is work. And I think that that's where people kind of fall short sometimes is I've been reading this quote lately that's everybody wants a village, but nobody wants to be a villager. And it's this whole concept of like how self-care and arbitrary boundaries are like kind of fucking with society lately
Mm.
of everybody wants people to show up for them, but if your friend is having a party or just need something or whatever else, that you're practicing self-care because you just really can't do that right
Hmm.
now, and you have to protect your own mental health, and it's a party, you don't have to go to a party. And well, yes, obviously a lot of that is true sometimes and very helpful. It's also the work of showing up for people that can help bring you joy and bring you community. I mean, Michael and I talk about that all the time because I'll have plans with my friends and it gets to be like an hour beforehand and I'm like, oh my God, I do not want to leave the house. Like, I don't want to have to put on real pants. I don't want to have to like brush my hair. I really don't want to fucking do this.
Mhm.
And we always talk about like, but once you're there, you know you're going to have fun and you know you're going to be happy that you went and you know it is going to be rewarding and filling in its own way. And I think that's the other part that like is difficult if you're on your own. You know, I have to have Michael here to remind me of the joy on the other side of the effort.
Yeah.
And it's hard if you don't have somebody there pushing you. You know, Josh sitting right behind you, being like, push the button, submit the query. You can do this. It's scary and it's fucking hard, but it's going to feel so good once you do it.
Yeah. I was like, there's that like the ridiculous thoughts you have. It's like, what if she writes me back and she's like, "You're the worst writer I've ever seen. I don't know why you would even send me this. I am so like
Hmm.
offended that you
Yeah.
would think that I would ever want to see something like this. How
Hmm.
dare you?
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
query again anyone. I'm telling every
Yeah.
agent everywhere to never answer an email from you."
Yeah, agents definitely have the time and like the effort to do that too. I mean, they'll scorch earth.
And I told Josh that. I was like, what if she does that?
Uh,
And Josh is like, then she's not a good agent. You don't want
no,
her to be your
exactly.
agent.
Exactly. And then she's not just a bad agent, she's a bad person.
Yes.
Like,
That's
yeah.
wild. Because
Yeah.
I think of like the worst
Hmm.
story I read for like
Hmm.
the magazine. And
Hmm.
my thought was, this is their first story they've ever tried to write. They've
Yeah.
never had anybody
Hmm.
teach them how to write. And I felt like very endeared
Hmm.
to them. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you that you wrote this and you sent
Yeah.
this. I mean, it needs a lot of work, but like I'm so proud that you
Yeah.
started and you did this. And I wish I could like,
Hmm.
email you and be like, hey, let's talk about how
Right.
because there's like a lot of like very like basic stuff they weren't doing right. But I read the whole
Hmm.
story because I was just like, I could tell
Hmm.
that they tried really hard and this was that they just
Hmm.
didn't have the experience. And that may be the case with my query letter too and my synopsis. And
Hmm.
it'll be like, oh, it's very
Hmm.
inexperienced, but like, I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
badly of that person. I really hope that they've continued to write and improve their
Yeah.
skills. I really do.
It's just so hard when you're not in a position that you're able to give feedback. Like that's really fucking hard because that's the thing with my query letter is that I get a lot of form rejections. And I know from talking to agents and from all the rest of it that like sometimes it just isn't a right fit and that's just all it is. But sometimes I do wish that they could write back and say like, hey, I can tell that your query letter isn't, quite seasoned. Like these are some things that you could improve. And it's just hard when there isn't a place to give that feedback. So like I love that you were endeared to them, and it just makes me sad that that person
Doesn't know that.
isn't going to get to, yeah, they don't get to know that. Like that's really, really hard. And I'm thinking about like with my teaching, you're much more generous than I am at times. If a student like deliberately does not follow directions, I get so angry and like have written to students and been like, "Hey, you're 200 words over word count or sometimes 500 words over word count. Like my time is not more important spent on you than it is on any of your peers. Like you need to follow the directions."
But that,
Um,
yeah, that does
you
seem to
know.
be a thing that
Uh,
you really have a problem with.
I
Don't even go one word over word count with Abigail. She's gonna go
I just
scorched earth.
it's not just that. It's just it's the entitlement of like I don't have to follow the rules. Um and I
But
mean
like,
that's why I'm not an agent. That's why I'm not an agent.
what if that's not like their intention? Isn't like
No, I know. I know it isn't their
probably they're like,
intention.
oh, I need to finish up this thought really quick, but
Yeah.
let me just finish
Yeah.
it up, and that's more important
Yeah.
than like cutting it off mid-sentence.
Yeah. So I have gotten better at that. I have, worked on that. But it is nice to be a teacher because I'm in a position where my job is to give feedback. And so specifically this semester, I have two English second language learners who just don't just don't know. what they're doing when it comes to writing a college paper.
Hmm.
And it's hard because I want to spend equal time on all of my students. But it's also one of those things where it's like this person clearly needs more feedback than everybody else. And so I'm trying to balance those two things. And I think that my brain could use a bit of a reframe on this of like, it is a privilege and a joy to be in a position where I can provide these students kind feedback and actually help them grow. And instead of looking at it as, oh my God, this is something I have to fucking do, it's, I chose to do this job. I'm lucky to have this job. And I need to remember that, like, helping these students build confidence in their writing is a place of joy for me, instead of looking at it as a burden.
Makes me think of when I was a technical writer and I first became the team lead in my first company that I worked at. Um, After our original team lead, she left, and I got an email from someone in a department that like I'd met before, but I didn't really know very well. And she says, "Hello, I hear that you're the new English expert." And then she explained to me that she would
Huh.
sometimes send stuff to my former team lead, and like because she was studying English grammar because that wasn't her first language, and
Oh,
ask her
yeah.
questions about like certain like the
Hmm.
in her workbook she'd do it and she'd be like, I don't understand why that's the way it was.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, would you mind if I sent those to you? And
Hmm.
I was like, okay. But she would email me like all the time. And I would get like
Yeah.
I would get annoyed. I'd be like, I got stuff to do,
Yeah.
lady. But
Right.
every time I always was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna help her.
Hmm.
And it became such a joy because she just was so grateful. And like I could tell, like I could see like her grammar improving over time and like her
Hmm.
understanding. Like she would ask me questions and like it was clear that she had listened to what I'd said before. She's like, before we talked about this and it was this, so I don't understand why this is this way. And I was like, oh,
Hmm.
this is kind of like a weird rule here.
Because
It
English is dumb.
and it also helped me understand grammar a little bit more
Hmm.
because she needed me to like use like the terminology she was using in the grammar books and like sometimes it's like, oh,
Right.
there's a comma here, but why? I was like, okay, well now I know I need
Yeah.
to rule
Oh,
around it.
God. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was such a joy to like she like brought me like these
Hmm.
really nice chocolates for Christmas because I'd helped her so much,
Aw.
and she said you make me more confident in my English and my writing than I've ever been, and it was such a joy. And I it was sometimes felt like a
Hmm.
burden, but like taking the moment to be like puzzling it out because it was always kind of a puzzle. She would always send me like really difficult ones too. It was never like a super easy one. And I love that. I was like,
Yeah.
why
Hmm.
is it this way? Why is that the way we do
Right.
that? So
Yeah. Oh,
it is a
that's
joy
really cool.
to help other people.
It it is. It really is. And like that's another thing that I've been kind of putting off is the writing group that I'm a part of here in Orlando. They keep chugging along and I've just been so removed the past couple months. And just really having a hard time even interacting in like the Discord or anything like that. And I had somebody message me not terribly long ago, but again, probably in November-ish, and said like, "Hey, would you mind reading over this for me?" And I told them I was like, "Listen, I have finals to grade. I have the holidays coming up. Like, I will do my best, but it's not going to be in a timely manner." And he was like, "That's perfectly fine. That's no worries, blah blah blah." But it is something that I've been putting off. And that's one, not fair to him that I said I would do this and haven't come around to it. And two, again, I have to do the hard work in order to get to joy.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be
Part
a
of the
good
showing up.
feeling. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I know it'll be a good feeling to finally message him back and be like, hey, like I really liked this. Here's the feedback, blah, blah, blah. And not just that, but again, that's how you build community, which is the whole fucking point of this podcast is showing up and doing the work.
Yeah.
Um,
You know,
you and I, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say even this, like I
Yes, I was just gonna
never
say that.
I'm never like, "Ugh, I don't want to hang out with Abigail." But sometimes I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't want to do a podcast.
I
I don't
literally said
want
that
to
to
do
Michael this
that.
morning. I said that to Michael this morning. We were in
Mhm.
car line to drop off Maggie, and I said, there's so much other shit going on, and I'm so fucking cold. I don't want to do anything. And I love seeing Maddie and getting to talk to her, but like I don't even know what today's fucking podcast is going to be about. Because we didn't decide the topic of this until we started recording, you know? Which happens sometimes. Sometimes we know what we want to talk about and we have it planned out, and sometimes we're like, I don't know, what are we talking about today? Um, and just showing up here with you every single time we do it, it fills my cup and it makes me
Yeah,
happy.
exactly.
But it is difficult fucking showing up
Yeah,
sometimes.
and like so, we started this new schedule where we meet on Thursdays
Hmm.
and we had to
Yep.
reschedule this one and you were like 10 a.m. on Monday and I wanted to die when you told me that.
Hey, I tried to do Wednesday, but
I
you were busy.
well, I have therapy.
No, I know, I know. And then I had a
But
freaking dentist on Tuesday. It's life. It's life
uh,
gets in the way. You know, we have to do the inconvenient thing sometimes. I know. Monday morning recording is rough.
I know. Like I was like you're messaging me what the topic is and I'm like running around like trying to get ready and I'm like, I don't know, think about it. And then I looked at the time and I was like, oh my God, it's already like 3 minutes still. Oh my God. So
I know, I know. Which is funny because most days I'm the one running late to join our podcast. Normally you're sitting here waiting at like 9:50, and I'm
well,
like, I'm
okay.
gonna be 10 minutes late.
Well, the thing is like usually I do my hair the night before, but I had to do my hair this
Hmm.
morning. So that added
It's beautiful.
so much time. Thank you.
It looks lovely though. You can tell I really spend a lot of time on my hair considering it's up in a bun and was washed 2 days ago and never styled.
Well, I thought about like I'm gonna wash it like last night and then go
Hmm.
to bed and it'll be like this like
Hmm.
up to my chin because
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it's
The
curly and
coils.
wet, it like coils all the way up. But I
Hmm.
was like,
Yeah.
I'll just take a shower in the
Yeah.
morning and do my hair.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Well,
that late though, but
yeah. And I don't know about you, but like, just obviously winter's harder. Like we know that as a fact. Just days are shorter, less sunlight, blah, 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 whatever else. But the past 2 nights, we here in Orlando have had to drip our faucets and prepare everything because it has been below freezing at night. We had two people write in our neighborhood Facebook page that their pipes burst or froze over and
jeez.
they didn't have water. And so, like, when it's this level of cold, I don't want to do anything. Like, I am so unmotivated. Are you feeling that way now that you're in North Carolina, or are you getting joy from like the snow and shit?
I love the cold, so I feel like a lot of joy in my heart.
Good.
I've always loved
Have you
winter.
had to like shovel the driveway and stuff?
No, we don't go anywhere, so who cares?
Oh, okay. Well, that would help. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, we're not going to go
Mm.
anywhere while the snow's on the ground, but it is
Yeah.
so beautiful. And it's the nights are so bright because of the white snow on the ground.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
it looks like dawn at night because
Aw.
there's just like the light of the snow. It's so beautiful. I'm
See, maybe
thrilled
if
to
it snowed
pieces.
here, it'd be nice, but instead there's just blankets over all the plants and, death and cold everywhere.
Yeah, I
We
think
did have an
yeah, because it's not expected
uh,
there. So I think that makes a big
no.
difference. Yeah.
It's been miserable. It's been so miserable. And like even, we don't want to run our heat all the time because it's freaking expensive. So like even being inside is cold and it's like I don't want to sit at my fucking computer and do work when I'm shivering. But it's got to be done. And I know it'll make me feel better once it's done.
Yeah. I think like living in North Carolina, I'm more prepared for it
Mhm.
to be cold because like I'm sitting here with
Yeah.
my heated blanket
Oh
warming
my
me up.
God. It's amazing.
I love this. Like I exist with a heated blanket on me at all time, which I read was like not great.
Mhm.
Like you really shouldn't be doing that, but like
Eh, whatever. It's
there's
fine.
so many other things like, you shouldn't be doing, but
Listen, let
like
yourself have joy. You don't
that's my
smoke.
joy. My joy is having a heated blanket on low,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
and slippers.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's something to be said for like when it comes to vices of, everybody's going to have a vice, like pick your poison kind of deal. And so like Michael and I today, after we dropped off Maggie at school, he had to go pick up more cold and flu medication. And of course, as one does when you walk into a CVS, I immediately went to the candy aisle and we got so much candy because sugar is my vice. And like just that little act brings me joy. And then it immediately makes me feel bad because I know I'm spending money. But also, it's fucking freezing, so I deserve to have a Twix bar.
Well, yeah, I mean, so my joy is my husband and I just finished playing a playthrough of Baldur's Gate.
Hmm.
And after I did the query letter, I was like, I need to do something. And Josh's like, what do you want to do? And he's like, you want to watch something? And I was like, I want to play something. And he's like, what do you want to play?
Hmm.
And I was like, I want to play Baldur's Gate again. Just played it, and he's like, okay, let's go. I'm ready. I'm so ready. And it's
Done.
like, I was like, this is so
Done.
stupid. We just played this game. And
Hmm.
he's like, who cares? Like, we both want to play it. Let's play
Yeah.
it. Who cares if like,
Yep.
it
Yeah.
brings us
Did I tell
joy.
you, Michael and I, we got Split Fiction for Christmas. And so we're gonna try and play through that at some point. But again, it's so hard to prioritize that. Like once child is asleep at night, all I want to do is just rot. But that is the time for me to be creative. That is the time for me to sit in my office and write or play video games with Michael, or whatever. And again, I hate that you have to work for joy. It's
Yeah.
so hard,
Yeah.
but
And
it's worth it.
it is worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just think about all the ways that you've been avoiding joy. Like there's so many places I'm sure
Hmm.
where you could
Oh yeah.
like I could have been using this time to do something that made me happy and gave me energy, but
Hmm.
instead I did this. Um,
Yeah.
so, I think we have like an avoidance like of joy
Yeah.
because we don't think we're
Because it's,
deserving or
yeah, I mean, it's one, joy takes effort and misery doesn't. But two, it is one of those things where it is hard because it feels selfish sometimes. Like I love the act of writing and I love the act of creating and it does bring me joy even through the work, but it does feel selfish to take that time and just do it for me.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing with, buying candy is I feel the guilt of spending money when really it's a candy bar. It's
Yeah.
not going to make or break. Um, and you don't have to feel guilt. It doesn't always have to accompany joy.
I think like kind of reframing things would be good because like I'm thinking about like when we had Jason Ockert on here, he was talking
Hmm.
about the reason he always finds time to write is because he knows he's a better person after he does it.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
like I think that's really important because I get grumpy and like
Yeah.
when I'm not following the things that I need to do. And I
Hmm.
am a better person the days that I like work hard.
Hmm.
I have more to give because I allowed
Yeah.
myself to do the things that brought me joy. And so then
Hmm.
you kind of reframe it of like, well, it's kind of selfish of me to just be a jerk because I didn't do the
Right?
thing that I
Yeah.
should have done and just did this
Hmm.
instead. So, if that's what it takes, you can reframe it that way.
Yeah. No, I think I really like that a lot because the other thing for me is the mental load that it takes to procrastinate because then I'm just thinking about it all the time and I'm not present in any moment.
Hmm.
And so I do think that that's a great way to think about it is that like once I can get through the stuff that I have to do, I don't have to think about it anymore and that allows me to be a more present person
Right.
instead of sitting here fantasizing about, oh, my characters could do that and they could do this and what about this? Blah, blah. If I just sat down and actually wrote it out, then I
Mhm.
wouldn't be distracted by it
Yeah.
when
I mean,
I'm with my family.
so something I try to do because like some days when you're writing, it's like really fast and you've like got things going. And
Yeah.
then other days it's like pulling teeth.
Hmm.
So I had set a goal for myself that every day I would work on my novel in some capacity. And some days,
Hmm.
like I said, it'd be like a sentence. Some days I'd write two chapters.
Hmm.
And I just
Yep.
said, as long as I've done something, as long as I've like, even
Hmm.
if I was just like plotting or working on my synopsis or doing my query letter, just do something towards my novel every day. And that made me
Yep.
feel good and accomplished. And even if it
Hmm.
wasn't a lot, I still did that something, which was more than I had been doing in a very long time. And I had to keep reframing it that
Hmm.
way. Like, it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't do enough. And it's like, yeah, but you went like months without ever touching this novel and you've touched it every single
Right.
day.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I really like that. I think that that's, we've talked about this before, but that's kind of the key with everything is reframing it. Because we have the tendency to just get stuck in such a rut.
Hmm.
Um, And, especially when it comes to the act of being creative and specifically the act of writing, um, you know, they talk about writer's block being a real issue because you're in a rut, you're in a hole, and it's hard to get out of it, but it's so rewarding once you work through the problem. And I kind of am trying to think about it that way of I don't have writer's block when it comes to my story, but I do have writer's block as far as like allowing myself the time to sit down and write.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I know once I work through that, it's going to help.
writer's block is usually you're just standing in your own way
Yeah. Almost always. Exactly.
in some way or another.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my writer's block is usually you're not a good writer. Why are you wasting your time?
Mm,
That's always my writer's
mm.
block. So then I,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, but then at the same time, it's like, well, sure, maybe you're not a good writer, but you want to be a good writer. And how are you going to be a good writer
Mm.
if you don't write?
Exactly. 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 And like my writer's block is pretty much always just is this really the best way to spend your time?
Mm.
You could be doing all these other things. Is this really how you need to spend your time? And especially because everything else I do in my life, there's somebody else relying on me. And it's so much easier for me to show up for other people than it is for me to show up for myself. And trying to remember that, like, the other people in my life want to support me and they want to be there for me and they want to see me succeed. That by doing this, I am showing up not just for myself, but also for them because they are happy for me when I take
Yeah.
time for myself. And that's always a hard one to remember as well of like my finding joy brings Michael joy and brings my mom joy and brings Maggie joy and like it happiness begets more happiness.
Yeah. And if like the people in your life don't want to see you happy, they're not good people.
Fuck them. No.
Yeah, so like you
No, we don't
like
want that agent.
like again, like we talk about this all the time, but like imagine that you're somebody else. Imagine that you're somebody you love
I know.
dearly. And would you want that person, would you be like, "Oh, you know what? I think
Mhm.
you should just lay on your back and scroll through TikTok and feel bad about all the things you're not doing and not do
Mm-hmm.
anything." You don't want that. You don't want
Yeah.
that. Like I don't
Yeah.
want that for you. That
Exactly.
breaks my heart that
Exactly.
you do
No,
that.
I know.
That's not a
No.
good way to
Like
live your life.
literally you telling me that you queried brought me so much fucking joy. It,
Uh,
it is. It's funny that like that's what it takes sometimes is we want the people in our lives to succeed and they should want us to succeed. And so like in order for us to succeed, we have to actually do the work so that we can then go to our friends and family and be like, "Hey, I did it." And then
yeah.
everybody gets to be happy together.
Yeah, I know. And it's also like when somebody shares like their success, like it motivates you and makes you feel like, well, if they did it, I
Yes.
could do it. Like, or,
Hmm.
like, oh,
Hmm.
I don't know, just inspires you when you see
Yeah.
other people's happiness.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, well, is there anything else that you want to talk about with joy, finding it, or um, anything like that?
Um, I would just say like seek out the things that make you happy and try to spend a little bit of time doing them every day. And try to,
Hmm.
like again, I've done the whole like getting off of social media kind of stuff, where
Hmm.
I have timers where like I can only spend like 10 minutes on social media a day.
Hmm.
And like all that time that I was spending, I try and like replace it with something else that brings me joy
Hmm.
or is in
Hmm.
some way positive for the household.
Hmm.
So like maybe
Yeah.
cut back, like maybe take like 10 minutes of that time and do something else with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other point that this really helped me, that just this conversation helped me realize, is that joy takes work. And it's worth it. But that 10 minutes scrolling on Instagram or whatever is easy, but it's not productive. It's not bringing you joy. It's detrimental, really. And instead, doing the hard work of, taking my dog for a walk, even though it's really cold outside, sitting down and editing my book or grading papers or playing Play-Doh with my daughter. They all take so much more effort, but they will all bring me more joy.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
get off that phone.
Right?
Like,
Yeah,
I know you've
exactly.
never heard that message before.
Never. No. Social media is like totally saving our generation,
Oh
actually. It's
my
really healthy for
God.
us.
I've had so much more joy in my life since I stopped doing that, since I stopped
Yeah.
looking at social media. I don't miss it.
hmm
I don't
Yeah.
miss it.
And I gotta tell you, sometimes it's not even social media for me. Sometimes it's just sitting on the couch watching TV.
Hmm.
Or it's the inertia of it is easier to sit still, but that's not bringing me joy. And like, not to say don't relax and like don't refill your cup with like taking a nap or whatever you need to
Right,
do,
right, right.
because I know that that's gonna, like I am definitely guilty of being a busybody, but if it brings you joy, that's great. It just needs to bring you joy.
Yeah, like I would say take time to reassess those kind of things. Like, is this actually bringing you
Hmm
joy? Or if you're just
Yes.
like avoiding doing something that's going to bring
hmm
you joy. Also,
hmm
I'm a big fan of having rot days. Every
Yes.
once in a while, have a day where you do nothing,
hmm
nothing at all.
Yeah.
And don't like
Yeah.
and like
hmm
just embrace that inertia. I think that's good to do
hmm
every once in a while.
hmm My favorite, like as a kid, is we would call it like just vegging out or like being a vegetable. And we typically weren't allowed to have food in our rooms, but like specifically, we're not allowed to eat on our beds because it's gross. And so, like, I would throw a bunch of my pillows on the floor and then like bring popcorn or something into my room. And like, I would literally have like the bowl of popcorn next to me and then my TV remote and the book I was reading and then like whatever and like a blanket and just have everything really close to me and like basically fucking nest.
Mhm.
And so I didn't have to get up for hours. And like I miss doing that sometimes. Um,
You should
because
do
it
that.
was very rejuvenating.
You should
I
take a day.
can't
Why?
because I have a fucking 2-year old.
Why don't you do it with her?
She has no chill. I love this child deeply, but she is absolutely a product of her parents. She has no chill. She laid on the couch with me yesterday for a total of 5 minutes, and it was glorious. It was incredible. But that is also the longest she has ever laid on the couch with me. She has shit to do. She is very busy. It all brings her joy.
Yeah, a
Um,
busybody,
yeah.
huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, she's such a
Mm,
busybody. Um, but luckily, I have people in my life who my godmom's coming over on Friday so that I can get some stuff done. And even if I'm not vegging out, I can hopefully write.
yeah.
That would be nice.
So joy is there. You have to find
You
it.
just gotta find it.
And,
Yep, you have to do the work to find it.
yeah. And I think a lot of us know
Mhm.
exactly what it is that would bring us joy, but we
Yeah.
keep avoiding it and doing things that are
hmm
just easier.
Yeah, we know exactly. Well, I know exactly what I have to do. I just don't know if I have the strength to do it.
You do. You're stronger than you know.
Thanks. I know you don't know this, but that was a Star Wars quote. And Kylo Ren says it right before he kills Han Solo.
Wow.
I just have to kill my Han Solo. That's it. Just straight up murder. I can do it.
I mean, whatever whatever it takes,
Whatever it
if
is.
that's the metaphor
Mhm.
that gets you to do it, then.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right. Well, I'm going to go out and try and find some joy today. I'm Abigail.
And I'm Maddie, and this has been
Two writers.
Many Wrongs.